Hello, hello, Jordan Chariton live. Status Coup. It is Monday. What is today? February the 5th, the year 2024, right here in the United Corporations of America. I hope everybody doing okay in these times. A lot going on. We've been busy at Status Coup between on the ground reporting, a new newsletter we just put out today, which I'll get into when we have more vehicles, more viewers. Planning future on the ground reporting, and potentially, bringing on some help. So it's been a busy time, and it seems, as I just told Colin, sometimes you get around YouTube's algorithm, and sometimes you seem back in the dungeon. So it seems like got around YouTube's algorithm for a bit in terms of, growing and more viewers and more subscribers. But all of a sudden, for some strange reason, particularly when we are covering a massive multi-billion-dollar corporation that unnecessarily chemically nuked a small town in the middle of the country, not just that town, I mean, the surrounding areas, all of a sudden, nobody sees it on YouTube anymore. Isn't that interesting, Colin? Come on for a second. Show the people. Isn't that kind of interesting that, I don't know, we were rocking and rolling with the UAW coverage, live to 1,000 or so people. Sure, you could argue, well, that was a strike and people were into it. We were rocking and rolling, I'd say, with the, I don't want to say rocking and rolling. It's a terrible subject. But we had a lot of viewers for the pro-Palestinian protests, sometimes, 1,500, 2,000. But then you go to East Palestine where, I don't know, I don't think the 15 to 20,000 new subscribers we got last year because of East Palestine, I don't think they all of a sudden don't care anymore a year later. I think they were coming and subscribing because we were one of the few covering it on the ground. But suddenly, a year later, you go and you put up a video and you get like 200, 300 views in an hour. And you look at YouTube's algorithm and it seemed, I don't want to get too in the weeds, but the click-through rate, meaning the percentage of people that click on it, is a lot less, which typically means not a lot of people are seeing it. Yeah, kind of odd. I mean, I'm not trying to be conspiratorial because obviously we've done decent in the past couple months, but I don't think that's how human behavior happens, where you're getting, I think from Lewis's first couple trips, we might have grown 10,000 subscribers just on East Palestine. And then.
Well, not only that, just think of it logically of like, wouldn't we just have a random excess amount of viewers just algorithmically who accidentally were searching for Palestine stuff and come across this on the ground coverage that's live and stuff like that? Like, just that would make sense algorithmically. That would
obviously a different happen. Palestine one is yeah.
But even that didn't happen, which and I mentioned to you that I've heard that's might be something now that is just hurting on YouTube in general, that just the subject of East Palestine.
Well, I mean, I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it completely real. It's tough because we are, I'd say, our blessing and our curse. The blessing is we cover things no one else does. The curse is when you're covering things that no one else is, typically those things you're covering are not in the YouTube algorithm or the Twitter algorithm. Well, whatever the fuck Twitter's doing, I don't even know. But they're not in, they're not recommended by the algorithm. They're not actively being talked about on YouTube. One of the first things, like the YouTube experts will tell you in the news category, is cover things that people are most interested in. Well, the problem with that is that's kind of subjective. What are people most interested in? It's really what are people being flooded, what's being flooded to people in terms of topics. You can't really be interested in things that you don't know about or you're not seeing, right? So anyway, I could go on forever. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it is a little discouraging and honestly hard to fund the on-the-ground reporting if when we're going places, nobody's seeing it and we can't reach new eyeballs. because our not our only business model. Yes, we have to make money to sustain and pay people, but obviously one of our main ways of growing is by people signing up as paid members. And you don't expect people to sign up as paid members the first time they see you. So you want to be able to convert them, after a while, a little bit. And part of converting people is reaching new eyeballs, which see you on the ground and then saying, oh, you're the only ones doing this, or you're one of the only ones doing this. I like this. I'm going to pay the $5-10 a month. And it's this cycle that helps you continue funding it if you have that stable money coming in. But when you're going on the ground and you're paying, Colin, you just did that trip. What did we just spend? Probably $2,500, $3,000.
Yeah. I'm trying to do the math in my head. Yeah, about 2,600, I would say.
Yeah. So 2,500 for 4 days. And maybe if you're lucky, between donations and paid members that signed up, I don't know, maybe we got like $600. Well, obviously you don't have to be an accountant or a math whiz to know that's not sustainable if you're spending a lot more money than you're making. So anyway, yeah, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I want to get to the news. Smash the like button, share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this very live stream. We will go through some of Louis's great East Palestine reporting. If you missed it, John Farina, our cameraman, produced a wonderful, in-depth, powerful mini documentary showcasing our reporting through Louis's 5 reporting trips to East Palestine. Fortunately, Breaking Points, which we partner with on certain content, they were nice enough to release that mini documentary on their channel over the weekend. So definitely go to We'll post it on our channel too over the next few days. But last time I looked, it had like 40,000 views, maybe a little bit more now. So that's great. It seems from the people that saw it on Breaking Points, they really appreciated it. Very powerful, sad, infuriating, but really proud. I think that was like our first mini doc. I am hoping to go to Flint actually in the next few weeks to shoot a mini doc that we could release on the 10-year anniversary, which is at the end of April, 10-year anniversary of the still ongoing Flint water crisis. We will see, because that, again, it's all about, overhead, and it costs a lot of money to do this reporting and travel. But so definitely check that out. And we're going to go through some of Louis's clips on the ground in East Palestine over the last few days, including that phony, fake populist JD Vance saying he needs more evidence. Yeah, we just don't know enough. Needs more evidence to be able to answer if Norfolk Southern, the railroad company that chemically nuked East Palestine, causing cancers and all sorts of sickness already, should be criminally charged. Yeah. So we'll get to that. We will also get to, if you are not yet signed up to our Substack, which you can sign up for free, that's StatusCoup.substack.com. I just posted our first newsletter. It's always been something I've wanted to do. I've been too busy just reporting, also with my book that I've been working on. But we just posted our first newsletter called The Reality Room. So you could get that on Substack. It's kind of a mix of quick hit news items that you will not see really reported in the corporate media. Awesome image by Colin of me on top of, what is that, Mars? But it has a mix of news items, including updates about Cop City, the DNC ignoring the only federally recognized Native American tribe ahead of the South Carolina primary, a couple other items. We'll get into it a little bit later. But I'm going to try to do this, fingers crossed. Right now, I'm going to try to do it twice a week. If I have time, when I'm on the road, it will be impossible. But I'm going to try to do these twice a week. But we're hoping, and I'm going to show you the newsletter when we have a couple more viewers. We're hoping that your reaction to this will be, why the fuck isn't this being reported in mainstream media? And your second reaction, if you're not yet a Status Coup member, it's not going to, you don't have to pay for it. It's free. But we're trying to add more news and more of our reporting to give you that extra, if you need an extra push, to sign up as a paid member for $5 to $10 a month. So that newsletter, again, right now, I'm trying to format it with 10 news items so that I'll have a quick, kind of the facts, then my take on the facts. All right, let's start. There's a lot to get to. I want to start. Listen, I hate to be a predictor. I'm not really trying to be a political prognosticator. A lot could change, but as of now, President Biden has the lowest approval rating of any former president at this point. What are we, 8 months before the presidential election? 9 months, excuse me. He has the lowest approval rating of any incumbent president that went on to win. So that's not good. A new NBC News poll came out over the weekend that was horrendous for President Biden. Let's show you some of that poll, the actual poll numbers. If you have that chart, Colin, that has, the different months that NBC News has had the poll. If you start out, this poll, Biden is down by 5 to Donald Trump, 47% to 42%. You could argue, well, this is the national poll. It's not looking at the swing states. Well, a lot of the swing state polls we've seen recently, Donald Trump has been up in most of the swing states. So he's been up in most of the swing states polls. 6 out of 7 swing states he's been up. In some, 7 out of 7 swing states, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, which I don't even think is a swing state anymore. And then you have, this is showing that Trump has been going up since July. Trump's gone up 2 points in NBC News' poll. Biden has gone down 7 points in NBC News' poll. And 5 points is out of the margin of error. Most polls, their margin of error between 2 and 3 points. So this isn't even the worst of it with this particular poll. Yes, the overall number is bad, but I want to show you, if you look inside the poll, and this is from the article, Colin, on NBC News. Despite those statistics, Trump's hold a 22-point advantage over Biden on the question of which candidate would do a better job handling the economy, with 55% picking Trump and 33% choosing Biden. That is just something. That is something. Also in the poll, Trump has the edge on securing the border and controlling immigration, 35 points over Biden. On having the necessary mental and physical health to be president. I mean, I've been perfectly honest about Biden's competence, but you have to be really, really appearing senile for Trump to be up 23 points in terms of mental and physical capacities. Biden holds advantage on Trump dealing with abortion by 12. I'm shocked it's not more than that. And protecting immigrants' rights, plus 17. But I want to get into some of, to me, red alert, iceberg. In the new poll, Biden's approval ratings has declined, especially among Latinos. Just 35% of them now approve of his job performance. Voters aged 18 to 34, 29% approval Biden, and independents, 27% approval rating. If we go to some of the specifics, in the new NBC News poll, Biden holds the advantage over Trump among Black voters, 75% to 16%. 75 sounds good. He needs it closer to, I'd say, 85%. Women, Biden's up 50 to 40%. And white people with college degrees, 50 to 42. Trump, meanwhile, is crushing Biden, white people without college degrees, what they kind of call the, blue collar working class. Obviously, there's plenty of black people part of that. Men, Trump is crushing Biden, and independents, Biden is losing to Trump in this poll by, 19 points among independents. The two men are tied, basically, among Latino voters. This is something. Trump's at 42%, Biden at 41%. So remember, contrary to what the Democratic Party thought, Latinos don't only care about immigration. They care about a lot of other things. They're not so much different than the rest of us. Same goes for black voters. They are essentially, I mean, this is crazy. Tied among voters 18 to 34 at 42%. And among the youngest slice of voters measured, 18 to 29, Biden has a narrow advantage, 46% to Trump's 38%. With those numbers, and you could say all you want to me, well, Jordan, it's still early, this and that. It's really not. I mean, it's already February. Sure, a lot of voters make up their mind closer to the election, but other than a potential Trump conviction, which we'll get to in a little bit, I don't particularly know what can fundamentally change from now to November that's going to dramatically change voters' opinions, particularly young voters, because Biden has clearly shown he's not willing to do the things to get back young voters, that he's not willing to correct the things that are repealing young voters to get them back. I would say the same thing for black voters. So obviously, I don't like watching Morning Joe, but I watch some parts of it, so you don't have to. Well, MSDNC, because it is basically Democratic Party propaganda, they don't like these polls. And there was extreme gaslighting going on Morning Joe this morning about these polls and Biden and what voters are thinking. So we'll play this. I don't know, Colin, if you could start and stop it. If you can't, just play the whole thing, I guess. But let's play the first one. And by the way, smash that like button, share this live stream. We got clips to play from East Palestine, our on-the-ground reporting from East Palestine, if you haven't seen it all. So we'll play that in a little bit. But first, I want to show you this.
Forward to this cycle, look, we had Biden up in June. We had a tie in September. Trump, for the very first time, led in our poll in November and has expanded it to 5 in our most recent poll. So the difference, the political atmosphere, the polling atmosphere, significantly different in our poll and really in every major poll out there compared to last time around versus this time around. So there's that. Obviously, a big thing driving this Biden decline even since last summer, it's simply this. His approval rating in our poll clocks in at 37%. That is his low in our poll. That's the lowest a president has checked in an NBC poll since the final days of the George W. Bush administration in 2008. The disapproval rating also an all-time high in our poll for Biden at 60%. Again, zoom out on this one, put it in perspective. These are the incumbents this century to seek re-election. Where was their approval rating in our poll at the start of their re-election year? Bush 04 won. He started at 54%. Barack Obama started at 49% in 2012. He won. Donald Trump was 46%, started 2020. He lost. Joe Biden, look at that number. It stands out, 37%. Markedly different. Only 2 incumbent presidents seeking re-election have had approval ratings at this level or below in their re-election year. They were George H.W. Bush in 1992 and Jimmy Carter in 1980. Digging a little bit closer into the numbers here, we ask folks, what's the most important issue to you? And who do you like on that issue? Who do you prefer on that issue? You come up with the economy. You come up with the border. You come up with sizable 22 points on the economy, 35 points on the border, obviously advantages for Trump. The Biden folks obviously hoping, hey, does the economy improve, keep improving? Do people start feeling that? Does that change their position on Biden? That's one source of hope for them. Obviously, drama in D.C. right now over the border. Could that change those numbers? Those numbers do have to change probably for Joe Biden to get closer to Trump in this poll. Also, there's this. Just we asked, does the candidate have the necessary mental or physical health? And here the comparison striking. We asked the question 2020 when Trump and Biden ran against each other. Yep. It's about the same. You ask it now and look at that, 2-1, Trump over Biden. And I think for the Biden folks, the next one is probably the most concerning. We ask this question. Is the candidate competent and effective to be president? And look, this was Biden's big advantage in 2020. He led Trump on this question by 9 points in our poll in 2020. Trump now leads Biden in our poll by 16 points on this number. The simple, competent and effective as president that hurt Trump 4 years ago and probably cost him the election. It's helping him now in our poll.
Well, you know, Steve, there are a lot of numbers in here that are shocking to a lot of our viewers. I'll just say it right here, a lot of them shocking to me. I mean, outrageous. If you look at people saying that what Donald Trump has necessary mental and physical health, and who is the greatest, you know, who's best for America across the globe, and even who's best at protecting democracy, that's a draw. I mean, everything cutting again, which again, for me is so preposterous, it's laughable. My question, though, is what do you sense by looking into these numbers? What do you sense is the key thing that's dragging Joe Biden down on all of these issues? Because, listen, we could take the economy. The economy's doing great by almost every standard.
Wow. A lot to unpack there. Preposterous, Joe Scarborough says. Outrageous. Shocking to our audience, he says. Well, maybe because you leave them and keep them in a well-protected cocoon of delusion. And I got to say, because I heard it from somebody today who didn't like that we headlined our East Palestine documentary, Biden and Norfolk Southern sacrificed East Palestine. Didn't like, even though Biden, is has a lot of faults, said, you're being too hard on Biden. It's an election here. And I had to answer, I'm a journalist. I don't want Donald Trump to be president. I detest Donald Trump. But I'm not going to sugarcoat Biden's responsibility on East Palestine or anything else. I'm not going to carry water for Biden because it's an election year, whether it's Trump, Lucifer, or anybody else. So to be clear, I'm not doing this because I want Donald Trump to win. But I'm actually doing it because I think there needs to be somebody else running other than Biden. If you want any chance to beat Donald Trump, I'm actually doing it because facts matter and the truth matters. First of all, just to be clear, the two presidents that Steve Kornacki mentioned, Jimmy Carter and George Papa Bush, when they were the only ones that had this low approval rating, other than Biden, they both lost. Carter lost big time. H.W. Bush lost to Bill Clinton. Yeah, you can blame it on Ross Perot if you want, but he lost to Bill Clinton. So there is no historical example of an incumbent president with this low of a approval rating winning. Sure, you could argue, well, there's also not the historical precedent of his opponent being under 4 criminal indictments, possibly being convicted on one of them before the general election. That's true. But at least now, we don't know if he's going to be convicted. We do know that Biden is starting to head towards the popularity of lice. So that's number one. But number two, and I've been pushing this and trying to impress upon you, the viewers. And I point this out in our newsletter, which, by the way, we just launched our new newsletter, The Reality Room. So definitely make it appointment reading and share it. It's in if you're a Substack subscriber, which you could be a Substack subscriber to us for free. This newsletter is available for free to anyone. Go sign up to our Substack. The link is in the description, and read our Reality Room newsletter, which showcases underreported or unreported. So underreported or unreported news that the mainstream media is ignoring. I do point out that we don't have a democracy in this country, not a real one. But all these MSNBC people who watch way too much West Wing and have this fairy tale about the sacred democracy. I'm not saying Trump's not a threat. I actually do believe he's delusional and probably wants to be some type of dictator. However, when he keeps saying, oh, Biden's better on our democracy, what democracy are we talking about here? The kind of democracy that is prosecuting Julian Assange and making him a political prisoner? The kind of democracy that in Atlanta, for example, the overwhelming majority of Atlanta residents have said, we do not want this militarized police compound, Cop City, to be built. They're building a 110-acre, I think it's closer to 200 to 300 acres, $110 million police training center. It's really a police commando center. They're plopping it down in the middle of protected forest. Now other cities are copying this, maybe not in the forest, but other cities are opening their own mini Cop City. Atlanta City Hall has held city council meetings where the majority of people who spoke out, 99% we're talking, are against it. They gathered 100,000 signatures to get it on the ballot as a ballot measure, and the Atlanta City Council won't certify their signatures. Is that the democracy you're talking about? Are you talking about the democracy where you're told to vote, but then the things you vote for, the people you vote against your interests? You're talking about the kind of democracy you're told to protest, but you protest and nothing changes? You're talking about the type of democracy where somebody could beat their opponent by 3 to 4 to 5 million votes in the popular vote and still lose because we have an undemocratic electoral college? Is that it? But when he says the economy is doing great, he is going by the bullshit measurements and standards that the masses are wising up to. The neoliberal bubble is starting to pop. And that goes for both the Democrats and Republicans, because this is not an endorsement of Republicans. They're just as awful, just as corrupt on the economy, maybe more corrupt. But the economy is not doing incredible. And just because, they look, 300,000 jobs or whatever the number was in the last jobs report, you got to look underneath the hood as if the economy is a car. How many of those jobs are strong union jobs with a living wage, benefits, pensions? How many people are working more than one job? How many of those jobs are gig economy jobs? How many of those jobs are freelance jobs? How many of those jobs are tipped workers? How many people are living paycheck to paycheck? Well, Colin, if you could show this, 62% of Americans are still living paycheck to paycheck. This is just in October of last year. You want a more recent one? This is from end of January of this year. 44% of Americans can't pay an unexpected $1,000 expense from savings. Somehow CNBC's headline is, "We're just not wired to save." Colin, is the issue that we're just not wired to save, or would you need extra money coming in to be able to save? Is it just we're just not wired to save in America?
Yeah, no, it's kind of like that catch-22 of you got to get this job. You've got to get an entry-level job with 5 years of experience. It's you got to have a savings account, but you got to have it without having any extra income. It's I don't know how you get to that point. It's funny because I actually just watched a clip on YouTube and seeing the vacuum of these people that were richer shocked that one of their friends didn't have $5,000 in their savings account. And a lot of the comments called out of like, hey, this is the majority of Americans. Like, we just don't have money. And it's this weird separation between people like MSNBC and these richer people and the rest of 66% of America.
I got to tell you, I think we need to seize back public control of the media, frankly. And you could call me a communist if you want, but I think we need to get rid of these corporations owning media. You could thank Bill Clinton when he wasn't getting blowjobs at the White House. He passed the 1996 Telecommunications Act, which further corporatized and frankly privatized your media. So that's why you have Millionaire Joe and his wife, Millionaire Mika, on TV telling us how great things are and in disbelief and calling it shocking and preposterous that Joe Biden is not getting his, brownie points from you. And to be clear, I don't think the economy was so great under Trump either. And if you're a MAGA person watching, sorry, I'm not carrying water from Trump either, because we do have some Trump people that watch too. The only difference was there was a pandemic in the beginning and the economy's at the end of his presidency. But for the most part, Trump's economy, he gave a massive tax cut, which 84% of it went to the rich. He sprinkled a little bit of tax relief to the rest of you. He deregulated, massive deregulation. He didn't take the pandemic seriously. He did not give enough stimulus, in my opinion. Now, the supply chain issues and all that weren't Trump's fault per se, but it's not like we had a strong economy under Trump too. It was still people living paycheck to paycheck. It was still people, a lot of people having more than one car. Let's not even mention healthcare. I mean, healthcare in America has put up a GoFundMe if you get cancer to pay for your treatment. That's healthcare in America. So spare me that the economy was so much better under Trump. This isn't a defense of Biden. A pandemic is a pandemic, and there are global factors that were going to cause economic issues. But the bottom line is the economy is shit no matter what, because our economy, folks, the real United Corporations of America economy is this. This is your economy. 40 years of it. This is the economy. Okay? This is the economy. That's the growth, that red line. And we got to get an updated chart because we're now in 2024 and these charts stop at 2015. Oh, getting me on a roll. And smash that like button. Please, please. We just were on the ground in East Palestine for 4 or 5 days. It cost us about $2,500. I want to go back on the road soon again. I'll tell you about that in a little bit, what we're planning, but we need to grow our membership. So if you are new here, sign up today. These trips cost money. This on-the-ground reporting costs money. And frankly, other than covering things during a 1-year anniversary, do you expect these outlets to go back to East Palestine and stay on this story of Norfolk Southern chemically nuking the small town of East Palestine and the surrounding areas and the people getting sick? You think they're going to go back when everyone has cancer? No, we will. We don't just go for anniversaries. That was our 5th trip there in a year. But we need more support. I see a lot of outlets send out fundraising emails all the time. Respectfully, and I'm not shitting on any I would love to shit on some in particular. However, we're actually walking the walk. We have a much higher financial bar because of the travel costs, paying reporters, paying camera people, paying for hotels, flights, rent-a-car, equipment. We're trying to sell one of our live views right now because we have 2 to bring in extra money. So if you are interested in purchasing a live view, hit us up, info@statuscoup.com. But all this costs money. You know, I get criticized sometimes. Jordan, stop asking for money. Well, if you would like to plant a money tree in my backyard, you are welcome. Start digging. I'll give you my address. If you have a magic wand to plant me a money tree that is clean and has no toxic corporate money coming out of it, and if you plant me that money tree, I'll never ask for another dime again. But until that day, if I don't ask for help, if I don't ask for support from the people, the lights are going off and we're not going to be able to cover anything on the ground. Sorry.
Also, if you're a member on any of the platforms, YouTube, Patreon, or the member site, StatusCoupMember.com, this morning I published a new member video that Louis recorded right before leaving East Palestine. So if you're a member, make sure you go check that out on StatusCoupMember.com, or if you're on YouTube, just go to our videos if you're a YouTube member.
That's right. You get bonus special behind the scenes content as a member. Also, if you're a member, or even if you're not a member, you could donate to help fund the on the ground reporting and the trip we just did. That's statuscoup.com/donate. Statuscoup.com/donate. We really appreciate all the people that have been donating. All right, let's get back to. We just got a new member. Thank you, Fina. Love that name. Thanks for becoming a new Status Coup member through YouTube. Really appreciate it. By the way, it's February now, so we got to have our monthly members call. We'll probably do that shortly, either this week or next week. So that's another great perk of being a Status Coup member. We do a monthly members call through Zoom. So you will get the link if you are a Status Coup member right before that. That's on Zoom. You don't have to be part. You don't have to like put on your camera or anything. You could just mute your camera if you want to just listen. But we take questions, comments. I talk probably too long, and then take your questions. All right, let's get back to. We've seen that the MSNBC crew is in disbelief. I can't believe it. Preposterous about Biden and him polling so low on mental and physical capacity. Let's play the rest.
There's no doubt that all of those issues that Steve just brought up are going to impact swing voters in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. But why don't we look at what's really, I think, probably really hurting Joe Biden the most here? When you see numbers in the low 20s on competence, when you see numbers in the low 30s in effectiveness, or I'm not exactly sure what the words are, that takes a lot of defecting Democrats to get to that point. So how bad right now is the situation with Joe Biden's base?
Bad. I mean, I think it's bad in the sense that, and this is not something, we talked about this a lot over the last months, Joe. You know, if you think back to, we were just literally talking about this during the commercial break here before Steve and the numbers came up. If you think back to Barack Obama at this point in when he was running for re-election in 2012, the same thing was happening. The economy was improving. but people hadn't appreciated that yet. The right track, wrong track numbers were still against him. But even at his worst, you know, when people in the White House in 2012, late 2011, early 2012 were most concerned about Obama losing, his base never dropped below 41, 42. You never saw
Yeah.
his approval rate never dropped below 41, 42. Why? Because the Democratic base never abandoned Barack Obama. His floor was solid.
Never.
It didn't matter what happened. He never dropped below 40. A lot of times he never got above 48 or so until Election Day, and they were worried, well, you know, when are we going to get to 50? Down to 37, when you get down to that low in your approval rating in a very polarized country, it means that a bunch of people in your party have decided that they're not with you. Now, can those people be turned around? Certainly, they can be turned around, but this gets back to this question, some of these questions that Steve's raising about mental effectiveness, about competence, about health. Again, this is not we have seen this train coming down the tracks for months and months and months. The question, this is not a thing that goes just to swing voters. It's in the Democratic Party, too. You run across Democratic-based voters all the time who thought that Joe Biden was a necessary transitional president. They desperately wanted to beat Donald Trump in 2020. They did not think that they were going to have Joe Biden at the top of the ticket again in 2024. I don't care what he said publicly. A lot of voters thought we're betting on Biden for one term. And now they have not had their concerns addressed. Some of the
Wait a fucking minute. Wait a minute. And you tell me if you are, resistance liberal watching. I was told in the year 2019, we were fed non-stop propaganda by Joe Scarborough and MSNBC and CNN and the New York Times and the Washington Post and the rest of the usual corporate suspects. We were told Biden's the pragmatic choice. That was a lie. It was propaganda. We were told he's the electable choice. I think Bernie would have beat I think Bernie would have beat Trump by a lot more. We were told that he's the only one that could beat Trump. Also a lie. We were told Biden is the guy who could get things done and bring over the Republicans. Yeah, that's working out. The only things he's gotten done are bipartisan infrastructure deal, which was essentially a privatization scheme on steroids, the infrastructure deal. He got the COVID relief bill done, which I actually think was probably his best bill that became law in his first 6 months. That was the unemployment, rental relief, a couple other things. Other than that, he moonwalked away from $15 minimum wage, moonwalked away from a public option, moonwalked away from $2,000 checks, doubled drilling on public lands when he ran on ending drilling on public lands. This was the guy who could get things done. And now he's offering a border deal that honestly is further to the right than most previous Democratic presidents. And of course, the Republicans won't take it because they don't want to give Biden a victory. And their king and their pharaoh, Trump, is telling them not to take it. But MSNBC, I don't remember, Colin, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember being told by MSNBC nonstop that, no, just vote for Joe. He's the pragmatic one. Vote for Joe. He's the one who could get things done. Vote for Joe. He's the one that could beat Trump. I didn't hear a disclaimer, vote for Joe. It's only one term. But now they're telling me, now he's saying all voters, they all voted for him thinking it was one term. I never heard that from MSNBC, CNN, New York Times.
We literally did a 5-minute compilation of everyone saying, oh, Biden's the one who can get things done. Everyone from the media to even like progressive left politicians and stuff. And in addition to that, obviously, we did a separate video of all the politicians saying, oh, yeah, as soon as he's in office, we'll push him left and all that. But
do you remember them saying Biden's the only one who could get things done for one term and he's only serving one term? I don't remember that. But now that's what they're feeding us.
Yeah, suddenly there's a lot of asterisks and caveats. They're like, oh, this is on you guys. You guys didn't read the 40 pages of terms and services.
It's truly unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. And by the way, I want to be fair. Biden has done certain things. They don't go far enough for my politics that Trump would not have done. There are some things that Biden have done that are good. However, when you have a gaping gunshot wound, which is the last 40 years of this neoliberal hellscape we're all living in, you cannot continue treating it with a little, a little lotion and a Band-Aid over the gaping economic gunshot wound that is the neoliberal economy of people don't have $1,000 in their bank account for an emergency. 62% of people living paycheck to paycheck. Homelessness went up 12% last year countrywide. I think that's an undercount. God knows how many people now are working 2 to 3 jobs. God knows how many people are rationing medication. God knows how many people are having to choose between medicine or this bill, groceries or this bill. That's not a strong economy. That is a economic Hunger Games. And we saw it. Colin, I think it was you. We went on an economic Hunger Games reporting trip last summer. We went through, I think it was 4 states in 7 days. I mean, it was like night and day, an alternative universe, what we were seeing on the ground compared to the propaganda you are continuing to hear from them about how great the economy is. It's not. Maybe for 7 to 10% of the country, the top 1 to 10, top 10% maybe. The rest of us, forget it. Let's play the rest.
They're substantive, but some of those are get to these questions that many Democrats have expressed the same thing. It's not just Republicans. Democrats will look at Joe Biden, and the White House must, and his political operation, has to figure out a more effective way to bring those people who should be with them. Democrats who should be with them, they have to figure out a way to address these concerns, or they're going to be in very deep trouble, whoever they end up as the Republican nominee, most likely Donald Trump.
Well, how are you going to address these concerns? Do you even know what the concerns are? Because I haven't really even seen what Biden is running on in terms of, other than the whole save democracy, Trump's a fascist, yada, yada, yada. That didn't exactly work out for Hillary Clinton because that's her message from 2016. I haven't even heard Biden lie to us yet. And what I mean by that is, hey, if you vote for me, once I get in there, I've retooled it. I'm not listening anymore to our friend, the parliamentarian. And we're going to pass. If you reelect me, if you give me a Democratic Senate, if you give me a Democratic House, we're going to pass a $20 minimum wage. And we're not going to listen to the parliamentarian. We're going to pass that through a reconciliation bill, which was the way they passed the COVID relief bill and the infrastructure. Just the COVID relief bill, where you don't need Republican votes. $20 minimum wage. I think it needs to be closer to $27 to $30 an hour. But I'll put that aside. And if you reelect me, we're going to make the public option happen. If you reelect me, we're going to declare climate emergency. If you reelect me, here's my specific idea to cancel more of student loan debt, but the Supreme Court can't knock down. I'm not saying believe him. I'm just saying he's not even attempting to lie to you about these things. And if you have to convince people that the economy is good, then you clearly don't understand what the proletariat is going through. And you clearly don't understand that maybe your measurement of a strong economy is different than how people are living their day-to-day lives. And frankly, I do think in the midterm elections, for example, more people actually voted based on democracy. But I think more people voted and saved the Democrats, not because of Biden, but because the Supreme Court just overturned Roe v. Wade. When you look at the polls and the exit polls, abortion was tied or not, if not more important than the economy in 2022. However, I don't want to minimize it. It's still a major issue and the disenfranchisement of what they have done to women in this country. But it's just not as fresh. It's not as fresh. And at the end of the day, I don't even know if Biden came out today. I don't even know if Biden came out today and said, I want a ceasefire. We're ending funding for Israel's genocide on Gaza. Maybe he'd get some of the young people he lost back. Maybe he'd get some of the Arab Americans in Michigan and Dearborn back. I don't think all of them. You can't just erase. I think at this point, the number I just saw was close to 30,000 innocent Palestinians killed between 12 and 15,000 children. You can't just, oh, give me a do-over. I'm doing the right thing now. No. No. Can't do that. But it's not just MSNBC that's having a bit of a meltdown and delusion. The political class, this is from Politico. They put out a piece saying, forget no labels. It's not no labels we have to worry about. That's, the third party, the corporate third party group that might run a third party candidate. They were rumors that Joe Manchin was going to run under the no labels ticket. They're not worried about no labels. Politico is saying you got to worry again. We got to set up the fall guy and gal here. You got to worry about Jill Stein and Cornel West and RFK. It's the left that presents the most acute peril to the president. If Kennedy claims the Libertarian Party line, which he's warming to, Jill Stein is the Green Party nominee, and Cornel West gets on any battleground state ballots, they would combine to drain far more votes from Biden than from Trump. You wouldn't think Democrats need much reminding of this scenario, given how many in their professional ranks lived through two campaigns, 2000 and 2016, in which they lost the electoral vote in part because of leftist spoilers. I've already gone through this a gazillion times. Al Gore didn't lose because of Ralph Nader in 2000. Al Gore lost because of the Supreme Court. He really won. And Hillary Clinton did not lose in 2016 because of Hillary Clinton, because of Jill Stein. Data shows that even if Jill Stein didn't run, Hillary Clinton still would have lost. So that's just a lie that they like to continue to tell. I don't know if these reporters know it's a lie or not. Maybe they're just, drinking their own Kool-Aid. But none of that's true. But in these early days of the 2024 campaign, though, it's the no label push to draft the centrists, which has drawn more scorn, alarm, and opposition research among Democrats. Yes, that's partly because the party can try to shame Jacobson. She's the head of No Labels, who's married to longtime Democratic strategist and liberal bête noir, Mark Penn. They have considerably less leverage with a certified vaccine skeptic, Kennedy, to say nothing of the Patchouli caucus, Stein and West. I'm not going to really read anymore because what's the point? But to be clear, Biden has a 37% approval rating. That has nothing to do with Jill Stein or Cornel West or RFK. Biden is losing in head-to-head polls against Trump without RFK, Jill Stein, or Cornel West included in 6 out of the 7 swing states. Head-to-head. They're not included in those polls. Okay? Head-to-head, Biden is tied among Hispanic voters, not including those 3. Black voters, Biden's at 75% approval. Might sound good. You got to be closer to 85, 90%. Age 18 to 29, Biden is not even up by 10 points. Age 18 to 34, I think they're tied. The NBC News poll had it. And you want to blame it when all of these head-to-head polls, Biden is either losing or not up enough in the categories he needs. You want to blame it on Cornel West and Jill Stein, who are polling at 1%? By the way, in Michigan, if Biden loses, it looks like he's going to lose because he's writing a blank check to Israel to commit genocide on Gaza. Not because of Jill Stein or Cornel West, but they're already laying the groundwork here to blame Jill Stein and Cornel West. Frankly, by the looks of it, RFK, I think, is probably going to get about, it could change, maybe 14, 15, 16%. I don't really think that's being pulled dramatically from Biden. RFK's biggest support is coming from Republicans and independents, not Democrats. I think most young people that are leaving the Democratic Party are either are leaving Biden or either not going to vote, or they're going to vote for Jill Stein or Cornel West. Some of them RFK. But to be clear, they're not leaving Biden for somebody else. In most cases, they're leaving Biden because they are disgusted with Biden. That's a Biden problem, not these candidates. If these candidates dropped out, if all 3 of them dropped out, there is no evidence that these voters are going to go back to Biden. None. And by the way, to be clear, Trump's not offering anything either. What is he offering? Just, I'll finish the wall. It's going to be great. I'll finish the wall. Well, barbed wire all around. And I'll give another tax cut for rich people. I mean, that's what he's offering. Sorry, MAGA. I'm sorry you're hoodwinked by this guy and you love the show. He's not offering you anything economically. And he can't just snap his finger. Maybe Trump would be tougher with these corporations getting away with fucking criminal price gouging. I doubt it. And to young people, Trump would be equally as bad, if not worse, than Biden when it comes to Israel, Gaza. He might just tell Bibi, take it. Send him into the sea. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So we'll continue covering it, but I got to tell you, I don't see these polls moving. I think the only thing really now that could save the Democratic Party is two things. And by the way, I'm a fan of Jill Stein. I'm a fan of Cornel West. I think Cornel West leaving the Green Party was a mistake. I'm interviewing him on Wednesday, so I'll ask him about it. He just launched his own party, Justice for All, so we'll talk to him about it. I think they are monopolizing each other and canceling each other out. I think they should run together. To me, having two in an already small percentage you're going to get as a third-party candidate, having Jill Stein and Cornel West both run, I think is a mistake. RFK, I have not hid my feelings, not a fan. I also don't see him proposing much of anything at all, and he's a kook. Contrary to what some sycophants of his on the internet believe, he pushes a lot of nonsense and bullshit. But honestly, if Trump becomes president again, which I'm not pushing and I don't want, Biden has no one to blame but himself for all the reasons I've listed. All right, we got 500 people watching. Do not go anywhere. I want to get into a massive corporate crime, that is possibly going to create the worst cancer cluster in the United Corporations of America within the next 2 to 5 years. A corporate crime that has been described to us at Status Coup as a mini Chernobyl, that Biden is helping to cover up, that his EPA is helping to cover up, that the Republican Ohio governor is helping to cover up, that the Department of Justice is helping to cover up, that the mainstream media, other than the 1-year anniversary that just passed, doesn't give a shit about. It is disgusting and sickening. But before I get to that, for those that came here late, I want to remind you, please, we just launched our brand new newsletter today. It's called The Reality Room. You don't have to pay for it. All you got to do is go sign up for our Substack, statuscoup.substack.com. And it's the first post there. I'm going to try to do it as of now twice a week. It's a quick hit of news items that are not being covered elsewhere. So I'll just quickly scroll through the one we did. I'm not going to read all of it, but just to give you a taste of the types of stories we're covering. I think these are things you'd want to know. And I hope your reaction is, why the fuck isn't the corporate media covering this? So today's Reality Room, I covered a BP in Indiana just had a power outage that unleashed chemical flares that people could smell 30 miles away. People were getting dizzy, headaches, vomiting, nausea. Why wasn't that all over the news, you wonder? That's in there. I give you the quick hits of what the facts are and then my take, kind of like a short opinion. Then the second story was about the DNC ignoring Native Americans in South Carolina before the South Carolina primary. There's only one federally recognized Native American tribe in South Carolina, the Catawba Nation. And the Democratic Party didn't even approach them before the primary, nor did they create any polling stations on their reservation. Neither did the RNC for their primary coming up at the end of the month. Shocking. Third story, Stop Cop City activists arrested after shutting down construction. So that's an update on Cop City. If you don't know about Cop City, we've covered it extensively. This one I'm going to skip because we're about to cover it on East Palestine. Fifth story, Sherwin-Williams, the mega paint company, spilled diesel fuel in the Cuyahoga River. At the end of January, Cuyahoga River, infamously called the Burning River because it caught fire in 1969. Well, the EPA somehow announced there was no risk to the drinking water the same morning. It's always interesting how they always find no risk to drinking water. They always find, oh, there's no hazards in the air, no contamination after plants have fires or explosions. Somehow the EPA always finds all clear. We interviewed an activist who paddled on the Cuyahoga River the next day to show us that there was still diesel fuel in the Cuyahoga River, which, by the way, streams down to Lake Erie, which serves 12 million people their drinking water. Yeah. Why isn't this being covered in the mainstream media? It's being covered by us in our newsletter, which I hope you sign up for. These newsletters are not like short little nothings. I'm putting a lot of work into it, and I hope more people will sign up as paying members. That's one of the reasons we're doing it, to give you kind of another perk and more content to, warrant supporting us as a Status Coup member. The sixth story was Hyundai workers, Hyundai workers in Alabama signed union cards expressing interest in forming a union with the UAW. So that was 4,000 Hyundai workers signing union cards. The seventh story, Biden had protesters outside his massive DNC fundraiser in Miami. They still raised $6.2 million, but these were ceasefire now protesters hounding Biden at his lavish fundraiser down in Miami. The eighth story, the guy who leaked Donald Trump's taxes to the IRS, the IRS whistleblower who leaked Donald Trump's taxes to the New York Times, ProPublica, and a bunch of other outlets. He also leaked tax information about Jeff Bezos, Michael Bloomberg, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Rupert Murdoch, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg to ProPublica. That guy just got sentenced with 5 years in prison. But not one bank executive that tanked our global economy is in prison after tanking our global economy in 2008. Not one fossil fuel executive who's poisoned our water is in prison. Not the Sackler family of OxyContin. They're not in prison. Killed 100,000 people, hundreds of thousands of people. Not one war criminal from Bush to Cheney to Obama is in prison. Yet Julian Assange, Daniel Hale, Leonard Peltier, and now an IRS whistleblower who leaked information that, by the way, these types of tax information are public in a lot of European countries. Number 9, bet the mainstream media didn't cover this. Nancy Pelosi made $900,000 in a little over a month on one stock trade. NVIDIA, the chip company. I wonder why she's trading NVIDIA. Did she get insider information? Could it be? And finally, a little good news. The state of Connecticut is launching a program to wipe out medical debt for a large portion of its citizens, 250,000 people. So that is good news. So that's the 10 stories we chose for this newsletter. Again, there's quick hits. It gives you the facts. In some cases, original reporting by us. So, we get more information, quotes from people, and put it in there, and then a little section for opinion. Please read it. And if you can, leave a comment telling us if you like it, if you like the format, all that. But you can get it for free. All you got to do is go sign up for our Substack. All right. I want to get through some of the clips from our latest East Palestine on-the-ground reporting trip. I also want to ask you kindly, if you are not yet a Status Coup member, I hope watching this reporting, I hope you seeing that we're basically the only one doing this kind of reporting consistently on the ground, keyword on the ground, will convince you to sign up. I'm asking for $5 to $10 a month. $5 a month is 16 cents a day. $10 a month is 33 cents a day. That's all we're asking for. For some people, if you can't even afford that, that's fine. I get it. If you can't afford it, please. This is what it's going to, on the ground reporting. Let's play. I don't know what order you have it in, Colin. Let's play whatever the first clip is.
Just so folks know, too, this is Sulphur Run. Yes. This is the train derailment is just upstream here. This creek is the one that was, tons of contaminants came right down here after the derailment. And we've seen sheen of, chemical sheen in here every single time we visited so far. And this is also kind of the beginning of the tunnel where this goes under several homes, including Chrissy's home that we talked with earlier today, actually. Well,
do you think you want to venture down there?
Yeah, let's check it out.
I was down here earlier.
Yeah, let's check it out.
when you see that, that's usually you can get chemicals off of that.
Oh,
look,
we're
right
getting
against
some
the
down
shovel.
here.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it did come off that.
Oh yeah.
I see the black in there too. Let's see. I'll show you an example. We figured out like this black layer, it looks like a watermark, but when you dig at that, it usually is chemicals.
It blows my mind that these houses were built
it.
over this creek.
Yeah.
Like what? What?
I don't think I've seen that anywhere else.
No. No, like this house can't have a basement.
1 year later, the EPA has said they're not finding chemical contamination anymore in the creeks. Why are the creeks important? Chemicals don't just stay in the water. As weather changes, wind, rain, this and that, chemicals, there's aerosols, they go out into the air. There's houses over these creeks. It's under the soil. Kids play in the creeks. 1 year later, there's still significant chemical contamination. Aaron Brockovich and others have said there is no way you're going to get rid of all these chemicals. They detonated 5 cars of vinyl chloride, 1.1 million pounds of vinyl chloride. Vinyl chloride is a highly flammable gas. Long-term exposure to it can cause a rare form of liver cancer, regular liver cancer, lung cancer, brain cancer, lymphoma, leukemia. We haven't published these videos yet. We will be publishing over the next few days. There's a man who already has developed breast cancer months after this derailment. Of course, I mean, we can't definitively say it's from the derailment and the chemical detonation, but it's pretty rare. I mean, it's rare for men to get breast cancer. And this man has lived in the same house for 25 years, never had a major health concern. Now he's got breast cancer and he's had to get a double breast mastectomy. A man. Lewis also talked to a woman who just got diagnosed with breast cancer. Again, can't definitively draw a straight line. Anything could happen. Didn't have family history for it. Never had a major health problem. Now she's got breast cancer. I'm sorry to say, there's going to be a lot of cancer in this area. They should have evacuated this town. They should have permanently relocated anyone that wanted to be permanently relocated. And as you'll see in other clips, Norfolk Southern is refusing to. The EPA is going along with the lie that everything's fine. Biden is now suddenly deciding to go there a year later. He hasn't even signed the disaster declaration. A disaster declaration, and Obama didn't sign a disaster declaration for Flint. They still don't have clean water a decade later. It's a decade in April of the Flint water crisis. Let's play the next clip.
This has kind of affected different people health-wise. For the most part, you weren't really having health symptoms before. Stella, I know you had been having them before. I'm curious, since coming back, how has that been for you all? Are you noticing any symptoms? Darren, are you still feeling okay?
Well, up until a week ago, I had no symptoms at all. Mm-hmm. And before that, whenever I would come in just for a couple of hours, I would get really bad symptoms. But for the past week, my symptoms are back now. Mm-hmm. They're back as bad or worse than they were from the beginning. I have tingling through my whole body, dizziness, disorientation, intestinal issues, headaches. Some days I can't even get out of my chair. And it's as bad now as it was in the beginning. But like I said, up until this past week, everything seemed fine.
She is, she's 70, but she was lucky enough to leave with her husband for a few months, temporary relocation. There are a lot of East Palestine residents that Louis has talked to, that I've talked to over the last year, that left. And when they left, their symptoms go away. It's the same exact story in terms of my coverage of Flint. Residents who were having symptoms in Flint, they left. They went somewhere else for a couple of days. They get a shower and clean water. Their symptoms go away. As soon as they got back to Flint, symptoms come back. This is a year later. This poor woman, she's had dizziness, nausea, tingling through her whole body. She leaves. Symptoms come back. Symptoms go away. She visits town. As soon as they visit town, not only her, we've talked to a lot of residents. As soon as they come back to visit, their eyes burn, skin rash, nausea, dizziness. And now she's back in her home because Norfolk Southern, I mean, you can't live out of an Airbnb indefinitely. And Norfolk Southern has been forcing people back and refusing to keep paying after a certain amount of time, declaring their house fine because of the bullshit testing that Norfolk Southern has done with their own paid tester, CTEH, who's on the payroll. It's an independent company that Norfolk Southern paid for. That's not independent testing. And the actual independent testers, which cost a lot of money, that have gone in and tested the creeks and the homes and the buildings, have found a lot higher level contamination. Let's play the next quote from them.
The thing that gets me is we have enough air purifiers in our house to purify a hotel. Mm-hmm. I make it a point not to
that was red right now.
Go outside. I make it a point not to do much shopping in town. When I leave here, I go to my car and I leave town. Mm-hmm. So the part that's really scary to me is that I'm getting sick, and I understand that people get sick and there's flu and so on and so forth, but this is absolutely identifiable because I get the tingling across my shoulders, the tingling through my body. You know, I'm 70 years old. I've had the flu. I've had gallbladder attacks. I've had medical issues over the years. And this is not just, I have the flu. Right. It's not but if we have all these air purifiers, how am I getting affected by these chemicals? Mm-hmm. And, you know, my thing has been from day one, when this first happened, my concern has been for the kids in this town. Right. You know, there are so many kids that are having nosebleeds. My granddaughter's mother was just diagnosed with swelling of the spleen and swelling of the liver. Two of her neighbors, swelling of the spleen and swelling of the liver. It's not a coincidence. I know people get issues that aren't related to the chemicals, but how is it that neighbors, that there's 3 neighbors on my daughter's street, younger women that are losing their hair? Mm-hmm. You know, 1 on the street, okay, 2 on the street, but 3 of them in a block. Right. You know, there's so much of this that isn't coincidence, and it's not from eating onions, and it's not from building a fire outside. Right. You know, there is something going on here.
Right. And it's still insane to me, and I you know, we were kind of going through all this again last night, like the EPA throughout all of this has been like, I don't know, we're doing the testing, everything looks fine, everything looks fine, everything looks fine. Meanwhile, hundreds, if not thousands of people at this point have experienced symptoms like you're describing at one point or another during this. Members of the CDC who were in East Palestine, like the CDC, got sick when they were here and left. Obviously, you are missing something. Right.
How did
those numbers, yeah.
That we're missing. How did they leave? How did they get sick and just leave us here? Right. And not say anything? They got caught. Mm-hmm. through an email, or nobody would have ever known they got sick.
Right.
They are supposed to protect the people. That's what their function is. That's what their job is to investigate this.
Right.
And the only thing they could tell us is, we don't know how to treat the chemicals, but we know how to treat the cancer you're going to get.
Right.
How?
Yeah, I mean, that's you know, around every corner there's another red flag that this was mismanaged from the beginning.
Right.
And there's something going on, and you know, I know that you guys with Status Coup are really upset that nobody is putting these dots together when you know it's so elementary. You know, with everything that's been said about the owner of the chemicals, and you know, it just goes on and on and on and on.
Right.
But you know, there's no accountability. There's no solution. We know no more now than we did when this train wrecked.
We don't know about the chemicals, but we know how to treat the cancer. And Joe Scarborough wants to talk about democracy. What the fuck kind of democracy is this? If the government covers up for a corporation that unnecessarily chemically nuked a small town, and it's not just East Palestine, by the way. This plume went west to other parts of Ohio. This plume went east to Pennsylvania. There were reports of it going up north, too. God knows how far. There's people sick in Pennsylvania. There's people sick in other parts of Ohio. A democracy when the government in service of corporate America creates sacrifice zones. That's what this is. It's a sacrifice zone. They said, whatever, it's flyover country. Just blow up the cars. We got to get the tracks open because we can't lose $1 million a day if the track is closed. That was Norfolk Southern. She said, how can they just leave the CDC? Well, the CDC left. Biden never showed up. The EPA's lying to them. We have not left. We've been there 5 times. Frankly, this last trip, we're probably going to lose $2,000 on it. It's not all about money, but the reality is we are losing money on most of these on-the-ground trips, particularly when these kind of trips and these kind of stories are no longer in YouTube's algorithm, so YouTube doesn't recommend it. YouTube doesn't distribute it to do eyeballs. So when you're spending, a couple thousand, 20 these for 4 or 5 days, it's $2,500 or $3,000 between hotels, flights, rent-a-car, food, paying Lewis, paying John. So if you're not growing in paid membership, if you're not getting enough people to sign up as members and you're not getting enough donations, you're losing money. And I'm not saying losing money like I don't get enough money to go out for a nice steak. I'm saying we're losing money. We can't afford to keep doing it. So that's why I'm asking you, please, if you are not yet a Status Coup member, I am not beyond begging. Glasses coming off. Not beyond begging. Looking into the camera. If you're not yet a Status Coup member and can afford 16 cents a day. That's the lowest option we have. $5 a month is 16 cents a day. We have a $10 a month. $10 a month is 33 cents a day. If you legitimately do not have that and can't afford it, totally get it. Don't want to make anything worse for you. If you do, or maybe you're spending that money somewhere else that you don't need, that is not providing this kind of reporting, please sign up. That's the only way we could continue. We could have taken the easy way, folks. I had an offer a couple years ago for a lot of money from somebody I didn't want to be in business with, who said he would be hands off. I knew he wouldn't be hands off. And he probably would have tried to water us down, and he probably would have tried to muzzle me, and we wouldn't be what we are. I could have taken that money. And yeah. And by the way, Mud Chat, we have done fundraisers in the past, but fundraisers are not they're not a business model. You could do fundraisers, but that's not a sustainable model. A sustainable model is growing a paid membership, subscriber based, $5-10 a month. And the more people you get to sign up, the more stable revenue you have coming in, and the more you could cover on the ground reporting, pay for reporters, cameras, this and that. So we have done fundraisers in the past. We will continue doing them from time to time, but our main model is paid membership. So that's why we're asking, please, if you can, sign up, statuscoup.com/join. Honestly, if we get going at a pace where we could sign up, per trip, 50 to 100 people will be in a lot better shape to continue doing that kind of on the ground reporting. All right, let's play some more.
They just found one of those toxic socks.
Right.
The socks that they were using to catch the chemicals.
Filter out some, yeah.
That somebody must have gotten washed away.
Right.
In the thing.
Yeah.
And it's laying in the middle of the creek, stuck on a limb.
Right. Yeah.
Where some kids can go down there and see it and start. This is toxic poison.
Right.
And they don't even take enough care to make sure that these things are not within range of where somebody can get to them.
It's insane. I mean, we're actually going to go out and check out the creeks tomorrow. We're going to do a whole video on it and kind of see where things stand there. You brought up a point that I want to get more of your thoughts on. The owner of the chemical cars during that NTSB hearing that happened back in June apparently told Norfolk Southern not once, not twice, but 3 times that they advised to not detonate the cars in the fashion that they did here. I mean, there's been some fines and whatnot here and there. Obviously, Norfolk Southern is having a financial expense at some of this, but to me, detonating something like that feels like somebody needs to be held accountable in a real way for that.
It's criminal,
and that's the whole thing. I mean, when they was talking about this so-called controlled event or whatever they want to call it, they said the temperature was rising on one car. And the evidence clearly states the temperature was going down. So if there was one car in jeopardy, say, well, hell, we'll just blow up all 5 of them. You know, if we're going to blow one, what's 4 more? I mean, it's criminal. It has to be criminal. I mean, when I went to the Climate Week and I met Al Gore, and he was really up on what was going on. He had a picture of his phone from space of the plume when they did it. And he looked at me and he said, Darren, he said, what they're doing to you people is criminal. I mean, that's from our ex-vice president. And, anybody with half a mind knows that this was all mishandled from the beginning. Everybody from the local, federal, state, everybody dropped the ball.
Let me get this straight. So Al Gore could tell this fine gentleman at a conference that this is criminal, what they're doing? I think if Al Gore picks up the phone and calls CNN, they'll have him on any time. I don't find him to be exactly thrilling, but he's still the former vice president. MSNBC would gladly have Al Gore on. ABC, NBC, CBS, I'm sure they would gladly have Al Gore on. He's the former vice president, should have been president. Sure, he could tell them, I'd like to talk about this. They might ask him about other things too, but he could slip in that there needs to be a criminal investigation into Norfolk Southern. So I'm happy he told the truth to this resident, but why is Al Gore saying this in private and not publicly making hay about it when he could actually make a difference and change public opinion? Democratic Party. Save a truth behind closed doors. What is it? Hillary Clinton said, I have a public position and a private position. I mean, the Republican Party doesn't care either. They're trying to kill legislation now to tighten regulation on the railroads. That's the Republican Party. The Democratic Party ain't doing much for East Palestine either. And by the way, Senator Sherrod Brown and J.D. Vance should have called for a criminal investigation immediately. After the owner of the chemical cars in June of last year testified under oath that the chemical car company, vinyl chloride is the chemicals, that they owned those 5 train cars. They advised Norfolk Southern right after the derailment, before they detonated the cars, they told them 3 times that they did not need, that there was no risk of an imminent explosion and they did not need to detonate the cars. Immediately, there should have been an investigation and there should be criminal charges, because somebody in Norfolk Southern, or more than somebody, made the decision to sacrifice the human health and lives of the people in East Palestine to detonate the cars and get that track reopened. Hell, they got caught burying contaminated soil under the tracks. They didn't even charge them criminally for that. Can you imagine if one of us, like, buried, toxic, contaminated shit under somebody's home or like under a playground where people play, you think we'd get off? Let's play the next one.
Something that's driven me nuts, and we haven't talked since this happened, but the NTSB hearing that happened in June, we heard directly from Oxyvinyls, the company that owns the cars that the vinyl chloride was traveling in. They said that they advised Norfolk Southern 3 times that they didn't think that detonating those cars was necessary.
We made it clear, based on our expertise of the chemical properties of our product, that stabilized VCM would be unlikely to spontaneously polymerize. And on Sunday morning, February 5th, we further reinforced our view that polymerization was not occurring during a call with Norfolk Southern representatives. On Sunday evening, Steve met with Norfolk Southern's emergency response contractors and, for the 3rd time, stated Oxyvinyl's view that polymerization of VCM was not occurring.
They seemingly just withheld that information or advised otherwise to the Unified Command, which, included the local fire chief and so many other agencies, and essentially told them, this is what you need to do. They went through and detonated these cars. There really haven't been any real repercussions for that. Sure, Norfolk Southern is paying fines and they're paying for this in different ways financially, but that decision has upended so many people's lives. It almost feels like it should be criminal at this point. What do you make of that happening? And do you think there should be some sort of criminal investigation involved in any of this? Curious your thoughts.
That's one of the first things I'd like to do. Not when I win, not if I win, but when I win.
Win.
So about Oxyvinyls, I have studied that NTSB. I watched the whole thing. I watched it over and over again, and I analyzed it. It's been a while, but I remember, first of all, Norfolk Southern's liaison talking to the Unified Command was told that they saw no evidence of polymerization. They told him that it wasn't going to blow, and he said that in all the confusion he forgot. I don't know if you remember that. And he said that we'll do better next time. Right. Well, we don't want it next time.
Right.
Also, when we talk about Oxyvinyls, when they made the decision to blow that up, it was already 150 degrees prior. And so as it's climbing, I was thinking, even when that was going on live, we were watching a news conference, and I was saying, well, why don't you, if it goes to 150, because it reached that before and didn't blow, why don't you wait till it gets there? But they decided to blow it, before it was on 50 again, and it didn't blow the first time. And then remember, the weather wasn't what they wanted, so they had to wait a few hours.
Wind change or something. Yeah.
If you look at the temperature of those tanks, it is going down and down and down. It was not rising.
Right.
We were being lied to. And the reason...
I have to watch back the hearing, the NTSB hearing. I don't recall. Something like that would not slip by me. I don't recall the Norfolk Southern official saying he forgot, being told by the owner of the chemical cars that those trains were not going to blow, which was the bullshit rationalization Norfolk Southern used to justify blowing up the cars. But if he did, that is a scandal. And he did not forget. They were told, more than one person at Norfolk Southern was advised by the experts, the people who manufacture the chemicals, who know the chemicals, who know their properties and, at what temperature they might imminently explode. So if the Norfolk Southern executive is saying, I forgot, that's at the very least criminal negligence or recklessness. But again, there's a lot of smoke here. You got the guy testifying, I told him 3 times, they did it anyway. There's got to be emails. There's got to be phone calls that were made that could be subpoenaed. Where is the Ohio Attorney General? Where is the Pennsylvania Attorney General? Because this also affected Pennsylvania. Where is the Department of Justice? I know we got a lot of Trump investigations going on. You can fit this in. Companies could just blow up unnecessarily based on lies, could just blow up chemicals and create a chemical shower, a chemical mushroom cloud over innocent people, sicken them with cancer and all sorts of other things. And that's it. They pay a fine and, create a few barbecues and give a couple million to playgrounds in the community. And that's it. If that's the case, we're all in trouble. Because to be clear, folks, it's not just about East Palestine. Just like it's not just about Flint, Michigan. This shit could happen anywhere in America, whether it's a railroad or BP plant exploding or leaking, or a mining factory. There is environmental calamities all over this country all the time, and 95% of the time you never hear about and don't know about it. Nuclear waste sites I've covered on the road that aren't sealed properly, leaking, leading to children having to wear masks outside because it smells so bad. Let's play the next clip.
You've been staying in this hotel that we're in right now for how long at this point?
About 10 months now. I think 10 months total.
10, yeah.
Before that, at my mom's house, and we hotel hopped before that too. So it was a big pain. Loading kids, animals,
right,
vehicles,
luggage.
Yeah,
luggage,
trying
right.
to work around stuff, trying to find something that had openings. With all the people coming here to do work on East Palestine, there was nothing there.
Right.
So now with us being here, our stay is up February 9th.
Gotcha. And so you mentioned the stay is up February 9th. I guess, so this is Norfolk Southern telling you it's February 9th. And I guess what sort of steps are you trying to take? What are your next steps? Do you know what they are? I know that today you've been kind of going back and forth with the railroad trying to figure some of that out.
Yeah. We don't know. We extended the stay at least till the 12th. After that, not too sure. I asked the railroad if we can get an extension. They basically want everything I have. They want everything that would take to put a court case together for them to extend my stay.
Mm-hmm. And you were mentioning earlier, and I mean, I listened to some of it myself. They're looking for like all of your medical records and all sorts of stuff like this in order to do so.
And they want me to use their housing program, which in there says I waive my rights anyways to sue. So there's really no point in using them or trying to get help from them because they're not going to help us.
Right.
They're making it a game.
And you mentioned the housing program, and anyone can step in and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the housing program is set up by Norfolk Southern, and the idea is that they're saying if you sell your home and it's for a lesser value than it would have been assessed before the derailment, they'll essentially make up the difference. Am I correct there?
If it sells for lower.
If it sells
than
for
what
lower.
it's market valued at, so they'll make up that difference.
Okay, gotcha.
And they'll do it up to 6%. I think we caught in the book. And
But you waive your rights.
yes,
Right, you waive your rights to any legal action, essentially.
In the future.
In the future.
So a year from now, if I were to get sick, or my son or my husband, who's going to take care of us a year from now?
Right. And yeah. And I
due
mean,
to the exposures that we were exposed, the chemical exposures.
Not to get into, private details, but I've had a lot of phone calls from Ashley on weekends and nights, just distraught. She can't go back to her house. Her house still smells like chemicals, even though they tell her it's fine. Doesn't want to endanger herself or her children. Can't stay in a hotel forever. And Norfolk Southern's nickel and diming her and trying to kick her out. They refuse to pay for permanent relocation for her. There's so many bureaucratic things that a lot of these residents have had to go through. I believe there's still a couple dozen people still living at hotels or Airbnbs a year later after this derailment and chemical detonation. And, oh, how nice of you, Norfolk Southern. You'll pay the difference if I am able to sell my house? Because, there's a lot of people rushing to buy a home in East Palestine after Norfolk Southern created a nuclear Chernobyl there. But if I could sell my house, you'll give me the difference, but I have to sign, not to sue you for my eventual cancer or my children's cancer. So, at least I'll make back and not lose money on the house, but I'm up shit's creek when I get sick and have cancer. Capitalism, a love story, as Michael Moore called it in his documentary many years ago. I mean, this is just dystopian, horrible shit. And frankly, shame on the mainstream media. Other than us, and we are not the mainstream media, Other than News Nation, who's technically mainstream media, they're a smaller cable news outlet. That's the channel that Chris Cuomo went to. Credit to them. They've stayed on this. Other than us, one or two other like smaller independent people, there's no coverage of this anymore. There was a little more the other day because of the 1-year anniversary, just like there's no coverage of Flint other than anniversaries. The politicians have left these people to die, and the media have left these people to die. And they're going to die. I'm sorry to say. I've become friendly with a lot of people there. Louis has, John Farina has. I hope people don't get sick, but they're already sick. And cancers don't just develop right away. But it's not just vinyl chloride. There's other chemicals in that car, and just the detonation, the combustion of all these different chemicals and the byproducts they made, as we've covered, dioxins, which are some of the most toxic chemicals known to man. The dioxins that came out of the combustion, a lot of these chemicals on the train. So all of this I've shown you, and J.D. Vance, the populist senator from Ohio who wrote Hillbilly Elegy and claims to be one of the working men, one of the worker bees. And he's a populist, right? Well, Louis saw him, I guess, getting in his car or something in East Palestine. He was there for the anniversary and asked him, I think, a fair question. And J.D. Vance seemed to be uncomfortable with giving a straight answer.
Do you think anyone should be held criminally liable for the decision to detonate those cars? A resident I've been speaking with said that they spoke with the former Vice President Al Gore at one point, who thinks that something could be criminal there. But the ultimate decision to detonate the cars seems like it was unnecessary.
Well, the NTSB report is going to come out soon. One thing I'd say, and I should have mentioned this earlier, is it's really important that we not have a federal settlement with Norfolk Southern before the NTSB report. It's like, why would you try to memory hole and prevent discovery on an accident before you even have the accident report?
Right.
Look, we'll see what the NTSB report says. My strong suspicion is there were a lot of mistakes. Whether they're criminal mistakes, I got to see more evidence before I can say that. See you guys.
Thank you.
Let me just translate that for you in political speech, okay? I am a phony, and right now I'm auditioning to become Donald Trump's vice president. I was just on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos, and I wouldn't give a straight answer on anything. And I refused to denounce Trump for trying to do an insurrection and, overturn the election results. And I am hoping to be chosen as his vice president, even though I have no chance. He's probably going to pick a woman. So since I'm auditioning for vice president, I can't, piss off and ruffle the donors' feathers and call for criminal investigations into corporate America, because the donors wouldn't like that. That's what's actually going on here. First of all, I don't really know what NTSB report. Maybe the NTSB is going to come out with an official report. But if you have followed East Palestine and this story like Louis has, like I have, I watched the whole hearing. The NTSB had a 2-day hearing on the East Palestine derailment in June of last year. So we're talking, what is that, 7-8 months ago? They've already reported their findings. Maybe it's not in a physical report, but they had a 2-day hearing. It was several hours each day. The chemical car owner testified. Other experts testified. Norfolk Southern testified. EPA testified. Local emergency responders testified. There's no other information. The NTSB reported the timeline of events of, the TikTok minute by minute of what happened with the derailment. So I don't really know. I need to see more. What evidence do you need to see? Is the owner of the chemical car company saying, we told them the derailment was on a Friday night. They detonated the cars on a Monday afternoon. Between Friday night and Monday afternoon, the chemical car owner, and they had people on the ground there, the chemical car company. He testified, we told them 3 times. We were monitoring the temperature of the cars. We told them 3 times there is no risk of an imminent explosion. Welcome, new Status Coup member Lee. That is our 6th new member today. Can we get to 10 before I sign off? Thank you, Lee. And by the way, as a reminder, new members, we do a monthly members call with our Status Coup members. So if you're a new Status Coup member, you will get the link to our Zoom when we have the members call. We're probably going to do it later this week or early next week. We'll announce that when we're going to do it. We usually post it in the community tab on YouTube, and we'll send out an email about when we're doing the next members call. But as a member, you get to join us on the Zoom call, which is always a lot of fun. You don't have to put your camera on or anything. You could just mute your screen and listen if you don't want to talk or ask a question. But I genuinely cannot think of what other evidence you would need. Wow, Lee just gifted 20 Status Coup memberships. Lee, from God, if there is a God, Lee, you're sitting on the cloud with him or her. Thank you so much. That makes a huge, huge difference. Colin will come on at the end and explain how that works because I still don't know. But 20 random people are now going to get gift Status Coup memberships. Thank you so much. That makes a big, big difference. You guys and girls might think, what does $5 a month matter? What does $10 a month matter? That is how, brick by brick, we stay independent and fund flights, hotels. Rent-a-cars are very expensive. By the way, in a lot of places we go, parking is very expensive in cities across America. It's a big scam. A lot of places we go to cover, we got to park in a garage, and it's like $30 to $50 for an hour. It's crazy. Thank you, Lee. But I don't know. Nina Turner, the former Ohio state senator, she was Bernie's campaign co-chair. She tweeted basically what I'm thinking. She said, what more evidence does this man need? Residents of East Palestine, it's called bought and sold by the railroad lobby. What the hell? She also tweeted, everyone is a populist until it's time to be a populist. Norfolk Southern decimated this community, and they need a fighter in the U.S. Senate to stand up for them. She's right. And by the way, let's not let Sherrod Brown, the Democratic senator from Ohio, off the hook. Where the fuck is he? I know he's met with residents. I know he's pushed for the railroad safety bill that would put more regulations on the railroad companies. So points for that, I guess. Where is he calling for a criminal investigation? You start seeing a pattern here in Flint. 10 years later, no one's been criminally convicted. No one's even seen a jury trial, which I've explained. Thank you. Armwell just gifted a Status Coup membership. Now we're cooking here. I mean, honestly, I'm sorry. And I know, compared to some other countries, some people who have said to me that I've met from third world countries or, really tough economic conditions, poverty, that we have a better democracy than them. I'm sure that's true. But in terms of capital D democracy, I don't know how you tell me, where is the democracy in this? How is it a democracy if you vote for government officials to represent you and to protect you? We have almost a $900 billion defense budget. 900 billion with a B for national security. What about the security to the people of East Palestine and Flint and East Chicago, which I've covered, and Indiana, which BP just had a power outage and unleashed toxic chemicals? The details are in our newsletter. Go sign up to our Substack. I could go down the list. North Carolina, PFAS. PFAS in the water all over the country. Those are the forever chemicals. Are we not worried about their health security? Are we not worried about the women who are going to have miscarriages, who have had miscarriages in Flint, are going to have miscarriages in East Palestine? We're not worried about the mothers and fathers who are going to get cancer, the children who are going to develop illnesses? How about protecting them? But no, we don't go after corporations. The Sackler family, if you followed the opioid epidemic, has literally poisoned hundreds of thousands of people with OxyContin. Nothing. the short time Jeffrey Epstein went to prison for his sex trafficking ring, it was basically a bed and breakfast. He got to leave as he wished to go to his office, where women, sometimes underage girls, came to give him massages while he was serving a prison sentence. God knows what they're letting Ghislaine Maxwell get away with in there. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer and make you think there's no hope, but this is not a functioning, healthy democracy if corporations could poison you or government officials could make decisions that poison you and no one is ever held accountable. That's a fucking horror show. And no one is protected and no one is safe in that case. Shame on JD Vance and shame on the fucking loser, bullshit, pretend leftists who like to push these phony baloney Republicans as somehow populists or anti-war because they're against Biden's war. They're not against other wars. They want war with Iran. If they can get war with China, they're happy. But they're against the war in Ukraine because it's Biden's, because politics. But they're populists and care about the people, but I need to see more evidence before I call for criminal charges against a corporation. Give me a break. It's just, it's disgusting. Before we go, I want to play a short clip. Colin, do you have our documentary handy? We put together a mini documentary. Kudos to John Farina, who put this together. Breaking Points, who we have a content partnership with. They were nice enough to release it. So it's up on their channel. Over the weekend, they posted it. It's about 15 minutes. Really, really powerful. I want to play just a few minutes of it. This was from our on-the-ground reporting, 5 trips in 1 year. That cost a lot of money to do. And it wasn't just the on-the-ground stuff. Lewis stayed on it when he wasn't there, and I stayed on it. I've interviewed residents. I've spoken with residents. I've dug. I've broken some investigative stories on East Palestine. Let's play a little bit about the mini documentary.
On February 3rd, 2023, a Norfolk Southern freight train carrying hazardous cancer-causing chemicals derailed in East Palestine, Ohio. The train cars were burning for 24 hours. 3 days later, Norfolk Southern decided to detonate the cars filled with chemicals, including 1.1 million pounds of vinyl chloride, in order to speed up the cleaning process and reopen the tracks so that trains carrying products could move again. Norfolk Southern called the detonation a controlled burn and evacuated residents only within a 1-mile radius. The burning of these chemicals released toxic fumes into the air, including substances like hydrogen chloride, phosgene, formaldehyde, and dioxin. The plume of smoke filled the air and carried the toxins an unknown distance, affecting other areas of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and potentially beyond. The health of East Palestine and nearby residents was severely compromised. Water, wildlife, and animals were also affected.
Are you saying, Mayor, are you saying wind moves, air moves, water moves? Because according to, the EPA Norfolk Southern, it doesn't. All right, you gonna disturb it with the light on it? Okay, hold on. I wanna get in position. Ready. Oh, shit.
That's worse than up there.
And that's supposed to be through the filters and the multiple stages. Oh, and look at...
If you keep in mind, this water has been filtered from up in East Palestine down to where we just were.
Multiple times.
And then this is another barrier, and then there's one down there.
Oh, and that, you can smell it through your mask. Again.
It's still bubbling. I can taste it.
Oh.
The gnarly pool.
No, this has definitely earned its name, the gnarly pool.
and it's like a freaking fuse was lit that night, and it's just grown, and it snowballs, and no one is helping us. People are sick. Today, I know I'm feeling it. I feel it in my throat. I almost feel like my throat is tightening up. The first 2 days when I came back to my home, I was experiencing the rash on my chin and my cheek. I'm just going to openly admit that I am suffering forms of PTSD. I began counseling today for that. All I can say is we're in a living hell and no one is helping us.
What sort of symptoms were you experiencing throughout this?
Well, I don't know if Norfolk Southern had anything to do with it, but I got breast cancer. I lived in that house for 25 years. Now, the research that I did, vinyl chloride, extended exposure to that will expedite the cancer. So, I don't know.
Right.
I've had, after that, I've had, besides going through all that,
Right.
I've had, dry mouth, eyes are irritated, sinus problems, headaches, nauseated. Rashes, yeah. I'm still sporting a few right now, and it's just been a living hell.
You mentioned you've got sick kids at this point, unfortunately. Can you just talk a little bit about how this has been affecting you so far?
Well, when they said it was all clear to come home, we ended up waiting another 48 hours. We bought air purifiers for the home, allowed them to run because I am a mother of 5 boys and I have a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old still at home with me. About 24 hours after we came home, my 1-year-old got very, very hoarse. I ended up scheduling a pediatrician appointment. They're breaking out with rashes. I'm taking them to the doctors. They're telling me, well, they have eczema and they have croup because we can't diagnose them with chemical burns. We can't diagnose them with chemical burns of the lungs because almost after 3 weeks, they're still waiting on guidance from the Ohio Department of Health. How long is it going to take? Are one of my children going to have to drop dead before they get guidance? I mean, it's obvious to me. My other son, which my children have never been sick since they've been born. I mean, it's on record. Never an ER visit, nothing. Rush him to the ER visit. They wouldn't even see him until I gave him a decontamination shower. And then they don't want people to panic. Well, I've never brought my children, I'm a mother of 5, where they had to get a decontamination shower before being seen.
Go watch the full mini documentary. It's about 15 minutes on Breaking Point's channel. We'll probably post it on our channel over the next few days. It's just heartbreaking. John did just a really great job on that. And if you don't know, John also does still photography. So while he is doing camera work for us on the video end, he's also taking still pictures, and he got some really powerful pictures on this trip and many other trips. He and I are hoping to go back to Flint in the next week or two to shoot a mini documentary on 10 years of a crisis there that we could then air at the end of April for the 10-year anniversary of the ongoing, still happening Flint water crisis. But we need to get some more members to pay for that. So again, if you value this reporting, I mean it humbly, but do you see corporate outlets doing this kind of continued reporting? Do you even see many independent outlets doing it? I don't want anyone to confuse me. I'm not shitting on outlets, particularly independent ones that I respect, who don't go on the ground. You don't have to go on the ground to have value or, cover important things. All I'm saying is, it's just the facts. We have a much higher threshold and a much higher financial bar of resources we need to do that. So it's not that we're better, we're just different, and we do something different. And yeah, in a perfect world, there'd be a lot of altruistic billionaires or millionaires that want to, invest in this or donate to us without any strings attached. Unfortunately, there's not many of those who want to fund this kind of reporting without any say or editorial control, or trying to, dictate what we cover, what we don't. So we do this the old-fashioned hard way, and it is hard to do it this way through viewers rather than trying to get larger corporate funding. And it's not that we would not entertain larger funding. It's just we want to know that funding we're getting is from entities aligned with our vision and our values, who are funding it because they share the vision and want us to continue just doing what we're doing, not influence it. I got to go in a few minutes, so let me read. We got new member Fina. Thank you, Fina. New member Hiram Butt. Thank you, Hiram Butt. New member, existing member Dashbos Fleiss, member for 4 months. Why doesn't the undemocratic National Committee push Dean Phillips? Isn't he Biden without the baggage? Do they love Biden that much? Well, they're not going to push anyone but Biden, but I'm not a huge fan of Dean Phillips either. I would take him over Biden, but that's not a huge bar. Aaron H became a YouTube member. Thank you, Aaron. Adria, member for 11 months. Worker issues are invisible in 99% of the media. Absolutely. Adria, $2. Times Beach, Missouri was evacuated after dioxin. That is correct. And we have talked to people familiar with this Times Beach, Missouri's disaster in the 1980s. A lot of similarities. Somehow they were evacuated. The people of East Palestine weren't. Make it make sense. Dina, $3 super sticker. Thank you. Lee Royster became a YouTube member and gifted 20 new memberships. Incredibly grateful again, Lee. Thank you so much. Arma with Harmony gifted a membership. Thank you, Arma with Harmony. And through our website, I just want to give shout outs because Frankie signed up as a new Status Coup member to our website. So did Karen. If you're going to sign up, we ask you, our first preference is through our website. That's statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. You can, of course, if it's easier for you, do it through YouTube, but YouTube takes a little percentage of it, whereas through our website, it goes to us only. So that's statuscoup.com/join. You become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back at it tomorrow. We have other clips and interviews Louis did in East Palestine that we haven't released yet. We'll be releasing it throughout the week. And please, 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 again, become a member if you can. And if you're already a member and can chip in any more, donate at statuscoup.com/donate. Have a good night.